And we are back. Welcome back, everybody, to this live stream. This time we're here for the qualifying session for the Mexican Grand Prix, where, as you can see on your screen, the heavens have opened for qualifying. We have got around 65% for Q1, and for Q2, we're looking at around 15 or 20, I think around 15% or 10% for Q2, and then for Q3, looking at around 45%. 15% for Q2, Yuri's just clarified that, and I think looking at that, it looks like 45% for Q3. It is 45%. So it could be very, very interesting. It looks like for this section, it could be normal wet with a small chance of extreme wet being added in for good measure. So I think without further ado, let us get into it. And I think I might as well ask you, Franco, who I haven't introduced yet. I do apologise. Franco Gamba is here again. I'll let you know what is your prediction on who you believe will be eliminated in the first part of qualifying?
The fact that now it's wet, it's going to change a bit of things. Because now it's tough because there are the compounds tires which drivers wear. But I'd say that still both Williams will be knocked out. An AlphaTauri, an Aston Martin. I'd say also an Haas, and I'd say I'm going bold, and I'd say a Lamborghini.
Okay, I'm going to say both AlphaTauris. I'm going to say both Aston Martins, a Williams and a Haas. They are my predictions. As you can see from the drivers in the pit lane, you can see they're on extreme wet tyres. So it seems we're going to get extreme running for all of the guys on these first laps. Whether it will change to the normal wets, because as we saw on the weather forecast, the colour code for the rainy part of it did change. So whether we'll get to normal wet running, we'll have to wait and see. But for the meantime, it looks like extreme wets. Although looking at the sky and looking at the track around, you wouldn't think it looks like extreme wets. Maybe the water around here is quite dense. We'll have to wait and see on that. But again, guys, let us know your predictions in the stream chat, because I haven't seen any predictions yet. But the first car on track is David Kupak in the AlphaTauri. He's the first one on the racetrack now then. Also joining him on the track is former teammate Chris Chatfield. Roman Quagg also out there, as is Jamie Griffiths, as is Julius Anderson. So 5 cars have come out on track, meaning that's 6 now, as they now make their way through out of turn 3 now then, as they will now make their way towards the left-right chicane. Now they come around the chicane now then, and now coming around the double right-hander we go on the racetrack now then, as Cooper will be preparing to start his lap. We've got 15 cars now out on the racetrack, as make that 16 now, as Cooper will be hoping by the time he gets back around that there is no there's no traffic to deal with. But yeah, bit of strange conditions at the moment, Franco. They're on extreme wet tyres, but when you look at the conditions and when you look how bright the sky is, you wouldn't think it's extreme wet.
Yeah, I will think that it's more of a wet tires condition at the moment, or even inters. But it looks like that maybe the track is a little bit too much wet still. Maybe there are pedals which we can see because of GP4 physics. But yeah, team had their reason to put their drivers on monsoon tires. And it will be also curious to see which compound drivers wears, because of the it's clear from the lap times.
Indeed, as Kupak has just started his first flying lap now then, as all 22 cars are out on track. Luckily for Kupak, there is no traffic for him to deal with as he makes his way down towards the first corner now then. Into turn 2 he goes through the left, and then into the right-hander he goes, as he'll soon be approaching the end of Sector 3. Sector 1, sorry, not Sector 3, Sector 1. with a 24.253. The first sector comes at you quite quickly around this racetrack as he now makes his way through the left and right chicane. We have seen some incidents around that part of the track in recent years. Well, we'll see the same again this season. Is going to be interesting. Of course, the most infamous one that we got last season was the crash between Roland Motrin and I think it was Franco Lopez with Armar in front of them, actually having a mechanical failure at the same time, which caused a double stack for the two Mercedes drivers. It was a bit of an interesting one there in the Mercedes camp, and of course it allowed Miklos Gal to take advantage and of course take the victory last season. A 59.783 for Kupok in the second sector there then, as he now makes his way down towards the stadium section now. Then of course the Pelotala we don't use in this, of course. We use, obviously in real life, the reason why they don't use it is because of the fact that there's a main road behind that part of the track, and really they can't really move the barrier back as a result. Obviously you could say demolish the main road like somebody said to me, but I don't think you want to deal with the traffic in Mexico City. I think that would be a little bit of a logistical nightmare there, so I don't think you want to get through that whole thing. But anyway, Copart now then coming down the pit straight. What is the benchmark time going to be? It's a 1:33.0, but quickly gets beaten by Chatfield, who actually used a little bit of his slipstream to go 6/10 quicker. Here comes Roman Quagg in the Alfa Romeo. Across the line he will go. He goes into third place. Julius Anderson in the Alfa Romeo now then makes his way onto the pit straight, and across the line he will go. And he goes into fourth. Jamie Griffiths across the line. He will now go in the Williams, and he goes fifth, 3 seconds off the pace. 1.2 for Sontag there. Fraser goes into fifth. Roke across the line. He goes quickest by 0.2 of a second. Here comes Andre Videri in the Alfa Romeo now then, as he makes his way onto the pit straight. Across the line he will go. Goes into 7th place as we look to see what did happen to Griffiths. Did he make a mistake? Because he's 3 seconds off the pace, and it might have something to do with that Aston Martin who overtook him there. The Aston Martin of Julius Anderson who went by him at that first bit, so that definitely would have compromised his first few turns, given how awkward the first few corners are with these cars anyway. Same really in real life, they're like boats, sailing a boat through into those corners. But anyway, Wilson across the line goes into 9th. Franco Gamba goes into 2nd place, a Red Bull 1-2 for the moment. Patel across the line to go quickest by 0.4 of a second there, as we look at Galloway, who slots into 10th in the Ferrari. P6 for Evan Byrne. Laura Chum, Patel's teammate, goes into 5th. Franco Lopez across the line goes into 4th. Jesus Perrin across the line in the Renault, and he goes quickest now by 38 thousandths of a second. De Rosa crosses the line. He goes into 3rd, as we now look at Roland Motrin in the Aston Martin, who now makes his way onto the pit straight, and across the line he will go. He goes into 16th place. Armar Carr in the Mercedes, he's 1.2 seconds off in the middle sector, and 2.7 seconds off, only 20th. Willow's 18th. I wonder if these two were holding each other up on their lap. Let's see, because Willows is also way off the pace, and I think it might have something to do with these two, Franco, really holding each other up. So I bet they're not going to be happy with each other. And yet, there it is, look. There's where the hold up, because you saw that Willows was only 3/10 down on Roke in the middle sector there. So yeah, I think the pair of them are not going to be exchanging Christmas presents anytime soon. And well, we know about their old rivalry they had in the past, as Gal went to 19th there, where they just wouldn't stop overtaking each other. And well, it seems to they seem to not be completely agreeing with each other on what was going on that lap. That's why they're down in both 18th and 21st position. But at the moment, Perrin is at the top and pretty much showing the same sort of pace that he showed in practice, albeit in different conditions, Franco.
I'd say that it can rain, it can be dry, but Jesus seems to be quite strong so far at the moment. I'd say so far for not create any type of jinx. But as it stands, yes, it's those conditions seems to be liked a lot by the two rookies. As yeah, top 2 is composed by him and Patel, which are the only 2 rookies this year. So yeah, in general, it seems to be that he's looking to fight for something important. I think Jesus, and
Indeed
same
so.
for Raul.
Yeah, indeed. Still no predictions in the stream chat. That's not usually like you guys. Come on, wake up a little bit. Anyway, as they all make their way back into pit lane at the moment. Currently in the drop zone, we have Sontag, Willows, Gal, Wilson, Carr, and Griffiths. Of course, Willows and Carr holding each other up on their first lap, so I'd expect lap times for both of them on that occasion. And usually during the second flying laps, we usually see one driver get left behind. And of course, the big question remaining, because we saw on the weather graphic just before qualifying started, will we see any normal wet tyre running? That's going to be very, very interesting. Of course, for anybody who needs a daily reminder, to anybody who is new, of course, on to Grand Prix 4, there are, of course, two different types of normal wet tyre. You have the soft tyre, which is obviously a lot quicker than the other tyre, which is, of course, the hard tyre. And noticeably, when drivers opt to go for either the soft or harder compound of the normal wets, you do tend to see a little bit of a big difference when it comes to the gaps, really. And that's normally when you can tell who's on the softs and who's on the hards, basically. Because usually the soft runners obviously go a lot quicker than what the hard tyres do, because they're obviously a lot more grippier. But obviously do wear out more than what the hard tyres do. So anyway, Patel and Chong are getting wheeled back into the garage. And as we wait to see what the second runs look like. Hello from Chanak Kirshani, who's just joined us in the stream chat there, as the seconds continue to tick down on the timer on the top of your screen. As we wait to see who is going to go out first. Of course, last time by, it was, of course, David Kupok in the AlphaTauri. Whether that's going to be the same on this instance, we will see, of course. As mentioned, one driver usually gets left behind on the second runs, so we'll wait and see on that. As somebody is out on track, but for some reason we're at the Red Bull garage instead of the bottom garage, and it's Chris Chatfield who's out on track, and those tyres are still extreme wet, so we're not seeing anybody potentially switching over to the normal wets just yet, even though when you look at the conditions, it doesn't look like it's extreme wet. It's clear there's still a lot of standing water about on the racetrack at the moment, so the drivers still having to do their best to get around that. I should point out with the Ferrari, of course, I was wondering if this Ferrari had been updated, of course, because as you know, I actually edited this livery, of course, the Ferrari, but I've noticed it's had some bits added on since I was away with me computer problems, and it turns out that Evan actually got a hold of this livery and actually added some bits onto it. Basically, added some sponsors on some of the empty areas of the Ferrari. So appreciate Evan's work on that one. And so you'll be seeing all of this lot for the remainder of the season. So anyway, Chatfield is first on track. There are still a few cars coming out on track, as you can see on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. And it will be curious to see if Chatfield gets any traffic, because it is a pretty short lap around here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And of course, usually, especially when you're exiting the pit lane, it does take a while to build up the speed, and if you're on track you can easily blast past them down the straight, but you'll be hoping you'll have to blast past them, because otherwise you'll get held up for the lap, and that's something that Chris Chatfield is hoping isn't the case at all. But anyway, Chatfield comes around the final corner, makes his way onto the pit straight now then, and Chatfield is going to start his second flying lap, I should say. No traffic around from what I can see, so it looks like he's going to get a clear lap in. There's still a few cars still needing to fizzle their way out on track. Still 3 cars in the garage, that being Motrin, Willows and Gal, and it's going to be Motrin that's going to get left behind on this occasion, although I do feel that Willows may have come out just right behind Gal there, so we might get held up by him, but we'll see. Maybe he'll have to quickly dispose of him. Chatfield, meanwhile, down on his personal best in the first sector, but he was actually only 0.216 down compared to 0.234 down on his personal best. So that suggests that Chatfield actually had a better first sector than what Perinin did on his first lap. Just couldn't seem to hook it up in the last 2 sectors. But Chatfield now then making his way down towards the S's now then, through the left and then through into the right and then through into the left. He will go now then. And let's see what Chatfield's able to do, because he comes around the right and left-hander he goes. In the middle sector, 3 tenths down in that middle sector. I don't think we're looking at an improvement here for Chris Chatfield, but we will see as he makes his way through into the right-hander now. Then into the stadium section he goes, before making his way towards the hairpin, through the left, and then through into the right-hander we go now then, as Chatfield making his way into the final 2 corners through the right, and then into the final turn will go Chris Chatfield in the Ferrari as he makes his way onto the pit straight now then, and Chatfield comes across the line and he does not improve. I think he gained a little bit more time in that last sector, but still not able to improve on his 10th position. And I do feel that Willows is going to get held up as Q-Pop 2.3 seconds down on his personal best in the middle sector compared to the 1/10 in that first. As he's actually on the normal wets, I've just realised. Q-Pop is actually on the normal wet tyre, but he's 2.3 seconds down on in the middle sector. Is it a bit too early for those tyres? I'm not particularly sure. He might be on the harder compound of the normal wets. We're not sure, but either way, he doesn't improve. Lopez, meanwhile, on the extreme. Same goes for Rogue, who's getting held up by Lopez on his lap there. And Rogue will get some slipstream from Lopez down the pit straight, but not a lot, as Lopez comes across the line. No improvement for him, no improvement for Rogue. Here comes Perinin, is at the top of the timing sheets, and he doesn't improve, only by 2/10 though. Quag, he doesn't improve, and he stays in 11th position at the moment. He was actually up on his personal best in the first sector, but lost time in the last two. So Car looks like he's on the normal wets as well, so it seems like he's on the normal wets as well. I don't know if that's wise, Car, given that you're down in 21st position. But, yeah, that's a bit of a bizarre one there for Armar Car. Same goes for Gamba. He's not improving, but at least he's up in 5th position. Griffiths, also on the normal wet. Same goes for the Dairy. Chantal doesn't improve. Wilson improves, but stays in 20th position. Daniel Fraser, across the line, he will go. He's on the normal wets as well, but no improvement. Same goes for Byrne. Same goes for Patel. Chung is up on her personal best and goes up into 5th position with that lap. She stayed on the extreme wet tyre. Same goes for Kirishima DeRosa that we are looking at here, but it doesn't look like he's on an improvement as he's currently in 3rd position. DeRosa making his way onto the pit straight there, and DeRosa does not improve as a result of that. Willows is up on his personal best. He's currently in the drop zone and goes up into 5th position. That pushes Motrin down into the drop zone now as a result, as Q-Pop goes back into the pits. And are these runs done with, or is there still a few cars out there doing laps? I'm not sure. I think that's that for these runs. So Perrin at the top of the timing sheet, but some people going on the normal wets. One of them being Armar Car Franco. I find that a little bit bizarre from Mercedes, given that car is down in 21st position.
Yeah, I don't get it, to be honest. But now saying this in lap of Kai was actually up like alpha second compared to his personal best. So maybe they could work now in this last run, but now it was too early, I think. Let's see now, of course, the last run, but yeah, at the moment, it's a bit worrying, the situation for him.
We'll have to wait and see if he actually switches onto the compounds or tries to stick on the long wets. Again, of course, I don't know whether it has something to do with the fact, could those two have been on harder compound or normal wets? And if they were on the softer ones, could they have actually have competed with the guys on the extreme wets? I'm not sure, really, because it's hard to tell whether they're on soft or harder compounds when it comes to the normal wet tyre. It's obviously something to keep an eye on when we see the third and final runs. But for Carr, he needs to find an improvement, because if not, he's going to be on the back row of the grid.
Yes, indeed, and also it will be, let's say, a big risk to be involved in some sort of collision, because at the back is always easy to get collected in some sort of collision, so it will be actually chaotic. And also as well, the fact that he would have to recover quite a lot of positions. So yeah, it wouldn't be ideal for him. And also Jake Galloway is at quite a risk. He's 16th, so we have to wait and see for him as well if someone will improve. And he himself know.
Yeah, indeed. We've got 4 minutes left. Still plenty of time for these guys to get the third and final laps on with, as we wait to see who's going out first. It's a Mercedes who's going out first. It is Lopez, and he's opting to go on the normal wet tyres now. So, interesting there. I mean, he is up in 8th position, so you could say it's worth it for him if these tyres do not work out. But I wonder, really, as Lopez now makes his way out onto the racetrack now, then in the Mercedes, as he makes his way down towards the first few turns on the racetrack and through into the right and left-hander he goes. The first sector we notice, you don't lose too much time with these tyres. It's usually the last two sectors where it's obviously a little bit more technical, where they've been losing most of the time. The most of the time, really. We saw that Aston Martin were on normal wets. Chatfield opted to stay out on the extremes on this occasion, and it looks like Patel is going to be doing the same thing. Car opting to stay out on the normal wets. That's interesting. It looks like a majority of them are going on the normal wets, although we did see that Chatfield actually stayed on the extreme wet tyre. I did see it was great. Yeah, he's opted to stay on the extreme wet tyre here. So, I wonder, is this the correct tyre? I'm not sure. I mean, we saw on the previous lap that Carr and Cupot were not able to find any time with that tyre in the middle and last sector. So, something to keep an eye on, really, when we look at Lopez, who's going to be the first of the normal wet runners to do a lap. But Carr is really making a gamble here, Franco.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, as people here, as drivers here are coming out on track, and all of them are basically on full wet, so maybe the conditions are improving. Who knows? It will be crucial to see in which compound has been put the car. So with that, we should see if we will be able to improve and to get through to Q2. No matter the position, but only to get through Q2, because yeah, it will be such a major shame to see him at the back.
Indeed, but Lopez has started his lap now then, as the Ferrari of Galloway has just made his way out on track. Luckily for Lopez, there's no traffic right now as he makes his way down towards first few turns on the racetrack now then, as he makes his way into turn 1 and now into turn 2 he goes, through turn 2 and then into turn 3 we go. Let's see what his first sector is like compared to his personal best. The first sector is coming up quite soon, in fact, and he's actually up on Perinen in the first sector. But we need to keep an eye on what the last two, because we saw this previously, that they were okay in the first sector, but it's depending on what happens in the last two. So we see that Lopez is purple up in the first sector, but can he keep it up in these last two? We will see as he makes his way around the double right-hander now then, before he makes his way down towards the S's now then. As he makes his way down this little straight and now approaching the S's, he will go, flicking the car in through the left and then through into the right he goes. Then he'll go left again, as the third sector is actually just around where he's coming up to now then. Let's see what his second sector looks like compared to his personal best. And he's 85 thousandths up on his personal best, but he's lost 3 tenths to Perinen in that middle sector. So he's still up on his personal best, but can he keep it up overall? We'll see. That could be encouraging for Armar Car, but we'll have to wait and see. It's Lopez now that makes his way through into the stadium section now then, as he comes out to where the roaring crowd who are surrounding the old baseball stadium are going to be erupting. Through into the right-hander he goes, and now in towards the final few turns he goes on the racetrack. These will be the final flying laps, as you can see, because we're under a minute left on the clock on the top of your screens now then. But let's see what Lopez can do then on his normal wet tyres. Through into the final turn, onto the pit straight. He will go now then, the outgoing world champion, of course, because he was out of the title race in the last race. He's going to cross the line, and he does not improve. He loses time in the last sector. That might not bode well for Carr. Mottram, meanwhile, was up on his personal best. Can he keep it up, though? As he comes down the straight, across the line he will go, and he does improve to go up to 10th on the normal wet, so maybe it could be an omen. But Chatfield is still going quickly on the extreme wet. He's up on his personal best in the middle sector. Let's see what Chatfield is able to do on the extreme wet tyre now then. Chatfield across the line, he will go, and he goes into 4th position. De Rosa will get 1 lap in. Kupok is not up on his personal best. I don't know if that had anything to do with De Rosa in front, or whether it's because of the tyres. I'm not sure. But anyway, Kupok across the line, he will go now then in the AlphaTauri. He does not improve. Quag across the line, he will go, and he doesn't improve. As we look at Carr, who is up on his personal best in the middle sector. He's 1 second down, though, on Perinen in that middle sector, but he's 2 tenths up on his personal best. I don't think that's going to be enough, if I'm being totally honest. Carr now then, coming down the straight. Armar Carr across the line in the Mercedes. Where can he go? And it's only 19th. Carr is out. Carr is out of the session. He is going to be literally fuming with Mercedes with that one. He is not going to be happy. Anderson does not improve. Griffiths is up on his personal best meanwhile in the Williams. Griffiths across the line. He will go now then, and he goes only 20 seconds, so he's out. He stays in last place. Felix Sontag doesn't improve. He's out. He stays in 18th. Roke is up on his personal best. Meanwhile, in the normal wet conditions, he was purple up on Perinin, but it's where we've seen in the last sector where the drivers are losing time, and he goes into 4th with those tyres. Garber, round the final turn he goes. He was up on his personal best in the first sector, but then lost time in the middle sector. Garber, across the line, he will go now then. And he does not improve. He stays where he is. Perinin across the line, and he doesn't improve. Loses time in the last sector and stays on a 1 minute 31.663. Videri up on his personal best. He crosses the line and goes into 10th position. Patel across the line he will go. Galloway's now in the drop zone, by the way. Patel doesn't improve. Byrne now then. Across the line he will go in the Renault, and he goes into 6th. Wilson now then making his way around the final few turns on the racetrack now then, as he makes his way onto the pit straight. Wilson across the line. She will go in the Haas, I should say, across the line, and she goes up to 12, pushes Fraser, her own teammate, in the drop zone. Galloway is up on his personal best, but of course the last sector is where you lose time, and he's currently in the drop zone down in 18th. Galloway, across the line he goes, and he goes up to 13th, pushes Anderson into the drop zone. Fraser's up on his personal best. He's in the drop zone at the moment. Carr down to 20th as a result of Wilson's improvement. And now we look at Fraser, who comes down the pit straight now then. Fraser, across the line, he will go, and he does not improve. He loses time in the last sector. Fraser is out. He stays in 18th. De Rosa up on his personal best. He was already through anyway, but the former Polish driver, now Italian driver, making his way onto the pit straight and across the line. He will go, and no improvement, loses time in that last sector. As we look at Chung, who's not up on her personal best. She is already through anyway because she's up in 8th position. Chung now then, round the final turn and onto the pit straight she will go. And down the pit straight will go the Chinese driver. Chung across the line, she will go, and she does not improve. She stays where she is. And Anderson is not, obviously did his lap, so he is out. He's down in 17th position. But that is Q1 done with. And, well, the big shock of all, Armar Carr down in 20th position, perhaps because of a tyre mix-up from Mercedes then. So we just saw the top 3 were Perinin, Patel, and De Rosa, I think it was. Yes, it was. And your bottom 6 are Anderson, Fraser, Sontag, Carr, Gall, and Griffiths. But wow, oh wow. Have Mercedes made a huge blunder there, Franco?
Yeah, first of all, yeah, Anderson and Fraser at the same time. And yeah, Mercedes actually has done a massive mistake, and I think our Marca will be fuming quite a lot. It's crucial because it also now kills his chances for a possible chance to get points tomorrow, because basically starting at the back in Mexico is probably one of the worst track to start at the back with. So yeah, it will be quite difficult.
Indeed it will. Well, we're just going to take a brief pause for the moment, and then we'll get underway with Q2. But for the meantime, guys, let us know your prediction on who will be eliminated in the second part of qualifying. But in the meantime, I'm just going to go muted as I'll prepare the tweet for Twitter. So bear with for a moment.
Anyway, one thing I can mention that Felix Sontag has actually won his qualifying battle with Jamie Griffiths. So yeah, well done to Felix for this. And also the same apply for Amelia Wilson, who won her qualifying battle with Daniel Fraser. So yeah, this is just what I wanted to tell to the people in the stream chat. So we will back in a little bit.
And I'm back, and well, that was a very, very interesting session. Again, guys, let us know your prediction on who you believe will be eliminated in Q2. We didn't get any predictions for Q1, so let's hope we get some for Q2 this time by. But yeah, 20th position for Armar Carr. It's going to be a bit of a task for him, especially given that huge tactical blunder that Mercedes had made with his tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically a disappointment for me as well, because I would have actually loved to battle with him near on track, and this happening is actually is bad to see. So yeah, I hope that he can bounce back tomorrow.
Yeah, indeed, and it's going to be interesting to see how that one play. It's going to be interesting to see how he bounces back from that one. Of course, he could still bounce back. You never know, of course, but obviously, given sometimes how tricky it is around here to pass at Mexico, sometimes he's going to really need to set up his car well if he wants to try and do some overtakes tomorrow and get to a point where he's going to be challenging for some good points, because he needs to hope that something bad happens to Gamba tomorrow, really.
Yeah, it's basically that, or a mechanical failure, or someone will take out Gamba. So probably he will pay someone maybe to took out Gamba and to help him to keep the championship chances alive. But who knows? Maybe Gamba can be eliminated in Q2. Let's see.
Yes, indeed. Of course, to remind you as well, we've got 15% chance of rain for Q2, so there is a chance that session could be dry because it's a very low percentage, but we will see, of course. It might still be wet when we get there, once Yuri is finished setting that one up. I should point out as well, because obviously Franco mentioned that there was a tie between Anderson and Fraser. I can tell you the vanilla game was actually correct on that occasion, because Anderson is obviously higher in the garage rather than Fraser, but Anderson set the time before Fraser did, so we don't need to worry about that one when Yuri comes to set up the grid. As you can see, it will be dry for Q2, so there'll be no wet running on this occasion, but expect the wet running to come back in Q3, because that's 45% chance of rain. But anyway, Franco, that's for the future. At the moment, I'm going to ask you, who do you believe will be eliminated in the second part of qualifying?
Well, I think that Qpok, Mochan, Wilson, I think an Alfa Romeo, a McLaren, and who knows? Maybe a Renault, because yeah, it's difficult to say that Renault does things rightly. So yeah, you never know.
Okay, I'm going to say Motron, Q Park, Wilson. I'm going to say both Alfa Romeos will be eliminated as well. And I'm going to say Ferrari is going to get eliminated. That's my prediction on that one. But anyway, that's my prediction. I'll obviously read your guys' predictions once we get some track action, because I have seen that some of you this time have put some predictions down, because we didn't get any for some reason for Q1. But anyway, we're going to get ready. Lamborghini's getting ready, but he's going to get beaten to the punch by Roman Quarg in the Alfa Romeo now then, as he makes his way now then onto the racetrack now then. So, In terms of your predictions, guys, let me quickly read them. Von Chanek said he believes that it'll be Q-Park, Motrin, Wilson, both Alfa Romeos and a Ferrari, so basically the same as what I've gone with. Ra has said Q-Park, Motrin, Wilson, an Alfa, a Ferrari, and a Lamborghini. So they are the predictions from what we've got in the stream chat. As mentioned, Quarg is first on track. He's joined by Willows, Patel, De Rosa, and the man who topped Q1 in practice, Jesus Perinin. So they've got out onto the racetrack now then. Still got to there's 7 cars on the track, made that 8, so still 6 more cars making their way on, need to make their way onto track, made that 7, made that 6 now, as 10 cars have arrived on the racetrack. Quark will be hoping there'll be no traffic by the time he gets there, but given how quickly everybody is fizzling out onto the racetrack, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue there, as Quark now then makes his way out of the S's now then, as he makes his way towards the stadium section. I think this could be potentially the only bit of dry running we're going to get in this qualifying session, because as mentioned earlier on, Q3 is going to have 45% chance of rain, so I think we're going to see the rain come back for the final part of qualifying, but we will wait and see how that one goes really, as Quark now then making his way through into the final 2 turns on the racetrack now then, as he makes his way onto the pit straight, and Quarg is going to cross the line to start his first flying lap. No traffic for him because all 16 cars are out on the racetrack now then, as he blasts down this very, very long straight. It's usually quite fun to watch as well, as Quarg now makes his way down towards the first corner. Quarg doesn't have the best of memories though when it comes to this corner, because at the first ever Mexican Grand Prix he was involved in a big crash here in 2015 when his Williams barrel rolled after being kind of sandwiched really by, I think it was the Red Bull of Robert Ionescu and the Ferrari of Joseph Willows really. Willows luckily survived that and went on, actually survived that to be quite honest. He was lucky not to get involved. Same goes for Robert Ionescu. He was also very lucky on that occasion because Red Bull actually had a pretty strong race there in 2015 considering the car they had. But he just went through the first sector there, Dequad, a 21.425, a 21.401 for Willows, a 21.107 for Patel, a 21.383 for De Rosa, a 21.152 for Perinin on that occasion. So a pretty strong first sector for Rahul Patel on that occasion, and for Perinin as well, as Quark just made his way out of the sector 2, which was a 49.572, a 49.027 for Rahul Patel on that occasion, as Quark now then makes his way through into the stadium section now then, as he makes his way towards the final 2 turns on the racetrack now then. Into the final corner and onto the pit straight will go Roman Quark in the Alfa Romeo as he makes his way onto the pit straight, and Quark crosses the line, and the benchmarker time is a 1 minute 16.685. Here comes Rahul Patel in the Lamborghini now then, as he makes his way onto the pit straight, and Patel is going to cross the line to go quicker by 0.8 of a second, a 1 minute 15.814. Willows in the McLaren now then, 0.7 down on Patel in the middle sector. He crosses the line and only third on that occasion. He's actually slower than Quarg as well, 1.2 off, not the best of laps for Willows there. De Rosa goes second, 0.8 off of Patel. Perinin goes second, he goes 2 slower than Patel on that occasion. Laura Chung now then making her way onto the pit straight now then, and Chung is going to cross the line and she goes into 3rd position. Chatfield goes second, 55 thousandths off of Patel. Wilson in the Haas crosses the line, she goes into 4th. Q-Park looks like he's had a terrible lap, 2.4 seconds off, and he's in 9th. P8 for Evan Byrne, P5 for Galloway. For Derry crosses the line, he goes 3rd fastest, 1/10 off of Patel there, as Roke was purple in the first sector but lost a lot of time in that middle sector. I wonder if he's either made a mistake or just can't seem to hook up the middle sector. Roke across the line goes into 7th place. Lopez in the Mercedes crosses the line, he goes quickest by 0.2 of a second. Lopez at the top. Garber across the line, he will go, he slots into 7th place. Motrin in the Aston Martin crosses the line, he goes into 9th at this stage. So at the moment it is Lopez at the top with Patel in 2nd and Chatfield in 3rd position. But yeah, Red Bull seemingly a little bit off on this first run.
Yeah, it's in this run it's probably coming the main weakness for Red Bull, that is the straight, because all the engine is basically very slow, and yeah, probably they could have done a little bit better, both Gamba and Roke, but not that much. So yeah, it's going to be a raining dance from both of them in case they'll get through Q3. So yeah, also it's quite surprising that Amelia Wilson is in P6 so far. So well done to her. She has done a very good lap in this run.
Q-Pot 2.7 seconds off. I think there were quite a lot of mistakes on that first one, it's fair to say, because we saw that Roke was purple in the first sector, but then lost 6 temps in that middle sector. So I wonder if he made a mistake on his lap. Same goes for Q-Pot, really, to be 2.7 seconds down. I know that AlphaTauri hasn't got the quickest car, but still, that's still way off the pace than what you would expect. As Chung, who's currently in the drop zone, gets wheeled back into the garage. Wilson up in 6th, a very good first lap for her, but whether she can keep that up remains to be seen. As Motrin currently in the top 10 as we speak at the moment. At the moment, Chung, DeRosa, Quad, Byrne, Willows, and Q-Puck currently in the drop zone. A lot of big names there, including Evan Byrne. It wasn't the best of first runs from him either.
Yeah, same goes to Joseph Willows and both McLarens and Laura Chang. And it seems to be that some drivers still needs to readapt to the dry conditions. So let's say this lap was a sort of adaptation. So they must improve now, and I'm sure that they will. So it's going to be an exciting final part of the qualifying.
Indeed. So, for anybody curious, by the way, just looking at real life, the Formula 2 and Formula 3 calendars just got recently announced officially by Formula 1. So, maybe me and Franco will take a look at that later on after the session's finished. But anyway, back to OC. Quarg, once again, back out on track. First of all, also joining him now is Kirishima DeRosa. Both of these guys currently in the drop zone as we speak. Quark's teammate Videri up in 4th position, and well, it's fair to say, Franco, Videri has had some very strong qualifying performances as of late. Had the measure of Quark in some races in qualifying, but as we've said, the story of Alfa Romeo is they can't seem to convert it into results in the race.
That's the issue. This is where Alfa Romeo actually it's when it matters that Alfa Romeo had some sort of bad luck or their drivers actually had messed up something. It's more that they had some sort of bad luck. So yeah, the car in qualifying, I think recently has been one of the strongest. So remember that Federi has been in Q3 in strong positions like 4 or 5 times in the last 6 or 7 races. As meanwhile, Quag here got a little bit of slipstream from the Red Bull, but now got impeded. So yeah, that's the thing. And also these situations, like this one we have seen now, Quag now got slowed down by the Red Bull. So it's not exactly, let's say, the season where Alfa Romeo expressed their full potential.
Indeed, and of course that Red Bull who just held up Quag there, that was actually George Roke, because as you can see, it's got the Acura logo on the rear wing there. But yeah, Quag now they're making his way through into the S's. That hold up wouldn't have done him too many favours, and although 3 temps down in the middle sector, he has gained a bit in that middle sector, but I don't think it's going to be enough for him to make a full recovery, especially going through into here, into the old baseball stadium now, then through into the hairpin he goes, through the left, and then through into the right-hander he goes, before making his way into the final 2 corners on the racetrack now. Then through the final turn and onto the pit straight goes Roman Quag in the Alfa Romeo, as he now crosses the line and he does not improve. He stays where he is in 13th position. Probably going to be a little bit frustrated that Red Bull held him up. If he gets back around quick enough, he could be able to do one more flying lap before the end of the session. It is a very short track around here. Meanwhile, DeRosa is up on his personal best. He's currently in the drop zone, currently in 12th position. DeRosa across the line he will go, and he goes into 11th. He's still in the drop zone, not able to push Roke down there. Perinen is up on his personal best, meanwhile, currently in 5th position now then in the Renault, as he now makes his way through the final 2 turns, and onto the pit straight goes the Spaniard. And Perinen, can he go to the top of the timing sheets across the line? No, he can't. Just misses out by 57 thousandths and goes into 2nd place. Willow's up on his personal best. He needs to, because like with his teammate DeRosa, he's also in the drop zone now. Then Willow's round the final turn and onto the pit straight he will go. Willows across the line, and only good enough for 15th. He stays where he is, but improves on his personal best. He seems to have lost time in that last sector. Galloway's lost a heap of time. somewhere. I think Galloway may have made a mistake, as we've got a yellow flag actually down on the track just as we were looking at Galloway. He's 2.8 seconds off, and who is the yellow flag for? It's Lopez. Lopez has crashed it, and that is qualifying for Lopez, because we know the rule. It's a spare car ban, and he's the man at the top. So even though he might get through into the final part of qualifying, he's going to be out of qualifying, and it's just a common mistake, really, pushing too hard and crashing into the wall. And I think people's lap times behind Lopez are going to get affected as well. A change of front wing needed for those two, that being Gamba and a Lamborghini there. No, so it was Roke, sorry. Not sure which Lamborghini it was that collected, but they'll need to change their front wing. But Lopez out of qualifying as a result, and it looks like he's going to start in 10th as a result. A disastrous qualifying for Mercedes. They messed up with someone's strategies. I think the AlphaTauri Q-Pot there has now lost the front wing as well. But we've seen some damage all over the place. But it's been a disastrous qualifying for Mercedes. Getting the strategy wrong for car in Q1, and now Lopez has crashed it into the wall.
Unbelievable. What a disaster, and what a missed chance for Franco Lopez, because he was looking so fast. So I don't get the reason why he has done this mistake. I mean, he would have needed to take it easy. So he was the fastest. He was probably going to get through to Q3, and now he's going to start in 10th. So that's a massive shame for Mercedes. It's let's say a sort of nightmare qualifying session for Mercedes as a whole.
Indeed so, and a lot of people had to come back into the pits because they got damaged from Lopez's debris, or even Lopez's stricken car there. But luckily they didn't end their qualifying sessions right there and then. But some people did get affected as a result, so it'd be interesting to see how the final laps go. But at the moment, Roke is in the drop zone, as is De Rosa, as is Chung, as is Quark, as is Willows, and as is Q-Poc at the moment. Q-Poc still 2.7 seconds down. We do believe he made a mistake on his first flying lap, and while given he got damage from Lopez's debris, well, it's kind of set him back, really. And I think we're going to see a lot of drivers going out there quite a bit early, especially once they've had to come back in for a new nose to come back out, especially Q-Poc, who's currently in the drop zone. Same goes for Roke as well, who also lost his front wing in the process. So, yeah, it should be quite interesting to see what they can do on a clean run. But, yeah, for Lopez, that's qualifying done for him. And if he gets through into Q3, which I think he'll more likely will, because he's currently top in the timing sheets, he's going to be starting at best in 10th position. And, well, that's just not the way that Lopez wanted to get through, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's seriously, I don't get it. It was fastest. It was going to Q3, and you do this mistake. As Charles Leclerc said once, pawning back in 2019, probably Lopez right now is saying, I'm stupid. And sadly, yes, because this was seriously a chance where Mercedes could have actually done a good performance. I would say Mercedes of Lopez, of course.
Indeed so. As anyway, as we see, George Roke is out on track. So is De Rosa and Chung, and so is Perinen as well. So Roke getting back out there. I think we're going to see quite a few getting a final flying lap in, especially some of the guys who actually didn't take any damage as well. Roke getting out there very, very quickly. We know that Q-Pop got damaged, but he's still in the garage as we speak. Same goes for who was it? Patel, I think the other one was that got damage. But Chung has gone out there. Perinen, we mentioned, has gone out there. Burns gone out there at the moment, as all of these guys, apart from Lopez, of course, whose qualifying is done with now as a result of that crash, will be trying to get out there as best as possible. They need to get out before the 1 minute 15 mark, though, otherwise that will be their Q2 done with. Anyway, Roke is about to start his final flying lap. He needs to make this work because he's currently in the drop zone, thanks to him having to change his front wing. There is traffic on the right-hand side, but it's in the form of his teammate, Franco Gamba. So hopefully Red Bull don't do a miscommunication on their part. Otherwise, both Red Bull and Mercedes will end up doing huge mistakes during this qualifying. Luckily, there's enough of a gap between Gamba and Roke, so unless Gamba is going quite slowly, I don't think Roke is going to get held up by Gamba, but we'll see anyway. Roke's first sector, what does it look like? He is 1/10 down on his personal best in the first sector, but as mentioned, we do think he made a mistake on his first flying lap, because we saw that he was purple in the first sector on his first flying lap, but then somehow lost 6/10 in the middle sector. So we'll see if he's able to gain it back in that middle sector. As Roke now then just comes out of the double right-hander before he makes his way through into the S's. Through into the left, through into the right he goes, through the left again, and now he'll make his way through and towards the right and left. Let's see what his middle sector looks like now then, and he's 4 tenths up, so that does confirm that he did make a mistake on his first flying lap, and he's 3 tenths down on Lopez in that second sector. And let's see where Roke can go. He needs to make this work because at the moment he's currently in the drop zone. Through into the left-hander he goes. Through the left, then through into the live. He might get a tiny bit of slipstream from his teammate Franco Garber, but not a lot. Through into the right-hander he goes now then. Into the final corner we go of the Pelotala, and onto the pitch straight we go. Roke across the line. Will he get through into Q3? And he goes up into 7th. So that pushes Motrin into the drop zone now. Then Garber is down to 9th. So he's probably got to watch his mirrors in case he gets down into the drop zone. As De Rosa now, they're making his way into the stadium section now then. Through into the left and right. He's currently down on his personal best, and he's currently in the drop zone. So at the moment, De Rosa could be out of it if he doesn't find any time in this last sector now then. So around the final corner of the Pelotala goes Kirishima De Rosa in the McLaren. He makes his way onto the pit straight, and De Rosa across the line. He will go, and he does improve, but stays in 12th. So De Rosa is out. Perinin it further improves, but still stays in second place. 15 fans over Lopez. Chung is up on her personal best, but only to 13th. Chung is out. So that's one Lamborghini out of qualifying. Wilson, she doesn't improve, but she's coming in 8th. Could we see her through into Q3 perhaps? That's going to be something amazing if she pulls that off. Quark doesn't improve. He stays in 14th, so he is out. Quark out in Q2. Chatfield, he's currently in 5th position. I think he'll be safe anyway. Chatfield down the straight and across the line will go the Ferrari driver. He doesn't improve and stays in 5th. Byrne is not on improvement, but he's safe anyway because he's up in 4th position. Byrne, no improvement, he stays in 4th. Galloway is up on his personal best, goes up into 7th place, pushes Motrin into the drop zone now. Then Garber on the cusp of the top 10 at the moment. Q-Park up on his personal best, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get into Q3, and no, it's not. He stays 16th, and he's out of it, and he's still 2 seconds off the pace. Garber, purple middle sector, so Garber on a charge now, then trying to save to ensure that he gets really safe. In fact, well, up on his personal best, but now the screen has changed and he's actually down on Lopez. I do apologise, read that wrong, but still up into 6th. That's slightly better from him. Wilson in the cusp of the top 10. Willows is up on his personal best. Meanwhile, can he ruin Wilson's chance of getting the Haas through into Q3? Let's see. Willows now then. Round the final 10 he goes in the McLaren. He's currently in the drop zone, down in 15th. Could we see both McLarens getting eliminated? Willows across the line he goes, and only up to 12th. He is out. Only 12th and 13th for the 2 McLarens. Motrin, meanwhile, he's down on his personal best and up in 11th place. Unless he can find a miracle in the last sector, it looks like he's going to get eliminated as well in Q2 as he makes his way through into the second to last corner, which is Mansell. Now round into the final corner of the Pelotala now then he goes as he makes his way onto the pit straight now then, and across the line will go Roland Motrin in the Aston Martin. Across the line he goes, and he doesn't improve. He stays in 11th position. So with that, that is the end of Q2, and Wilson has got the Haas through into Q3. What an achievement from her. Lopez top, Perinin in second, and Patel in third. Of course, Lopez will start in 10th because he crashed out in Q2. And your bottom 6, Motrin, Willows, De Rosa, Chung, Quag, and Q-Park. But Amelia Wilson through into Q3, Franco. A good effort from the Haas driver.
And this is crucial for us, for our future as well. So, anyway, however it goes, she's going to start maybe 9th, if, of course, the Q3 is dry, realistically. But, of course, it's a great achievement. I think it is the first Q3 that Amelia reached this season. And maybe not ever, because I think she reached Q3 last season with Manor. I don't remember which race, but she reached Q3. So it's the first time this season she reached actually Q3. So well done to her, and in a crucial moment as well. So it's crucial. It's important for her to get in the top 10.
Indeed so, and she will qualify at least in 9th position because, of course, Lopez crashed out in this session, so he'll be starting in at least 10th. Well, for the meantime, we're just going to take a brief pause, and then we'll be back with the remaining part of qualifying, the last part of qualifying, to see who will take pole position for tomorrow's Mexican Grand Prix, which is 45% chance of rain, so look out for that. But in the meantime, let us know your prediction on who you believe will take pole position for tomorrow's Mexican Grand Prix. But in the meantime, I'm going to mute myself for a moment as I prepare the tweet for Twitter, so apologies if I go a little bit silent for the moment.
Alright, so guys, one quick thing before we get for QT. So another qualifying battle has been decided now, which is the Alfa Romeo's one, and has been won by Federi mathematically. So yeah, Andrea Federi won his qualifying battle against Roman Quai, and that's it. Of course, guys, let us know the pole prediction. And yeah, George, you're through Q3.
And I am back. So, yeah, we're just waiting for Q3 to get underway. And might as well mention as well, of course, for anybody who didn't catch what I just said there, we are looking at a 45% chance of rain for Q3. So we are expecting the rain to return for this final part of qualifying. And that could make things quite interesting, Franco, especially what we saw in Q1 with that blunder Mercedes made with our car.
Yeah, indeed. And also, we might see a shaken up grid, maybe. Who knows? Because yeah, of course, wet conditions usually produces always dry.
Oh, well, we say that, we'll forget about that conversation because despite the fact that we had 45% chance of rain, the rain has pretty much given us the middle finger. So we're not getting any rain for Q3 at all. It's just going to be cloud cover for this session, heavy cloud cover, but no rain. So that was a bit of a shame. That's a bit of an anticlimactic way but for Q3 to start. But anyway, let's get on with it. I feel a little bit deflated about that one. But anyway, I'll ask your prediction then, Franco. Who do you believe will take pole position for tomorrow's Mexican Grand Prix?
Well, I think that judging how it's going, I'd say Jesus Perinian.
I am going to agree with you. I think Perinin will actually get his. Well, he's had a couple of poles this season. I think it'll be his third pole of the season if he actually manages it today. So yeah, I'm going to play it safe and say Jesus Perinin, but I wouldn't rule out anybody else trying to go for it as well, especially now that we've got the cloud cover, which. Could give out cooler conditions, although I don't think that's a thing that gets replicated on GP4, unlike what we had with NR 2003 when we had the Indy 500 for a bit. But anyway, we're in the garages right now, and of course, it's only going to be 9 cars taking part in Q3 because if any of you missed it, despite topping Q2 earlier on, Lopez crashed out in Q2, meaning his qualifying has come to an end. So he will start in 10th place for tomorrow's Mexican Grand Prix. So it's only going to be 9 cars that will make their way out on track for this final part of qualifying. And it should be interesting to see. But the first car on track is Amelia Wilson, who you could say is the star of qualifying today, given that she's got the Haas through into Q3. And there is rain on the screen, in fact. There is rain on the screen, despite the fact it didn't say that on the weather forecast. But I'm not expecting it to wetten up. I could be wrong, but given it said it was not scheduled to wetten up, we will wait and see on that. But anyway, Wilson out on track first, getting the Haas through into Q3. A good effort from Haas here. And it could make for a very, very interesting... It'll be interesting to see where she will get onto. You would expect with the Haas maybe to get into 9th position, but... You'll never know, of course. You could spring a bit of a surprise in this session. We will wait and see. Federi again getting through into Q3 in the Alfa Romeo. Be interested to see if he can replicate the qualifying that he did at USA last time out, and then hope that the race fares a lot better for him. For anybody who needs a reminder, of course, the tyres we're using here at Mexico is the white hard tyres. So just thought I would point that one out, as Wilson is preparing for her first flying lap of Q3. Same goes for Federi, who's not too far behind. Going through the stadium section now, then we will go as Wilson now making her way through into the left and then into the right-hander we go, as she's now going to start her first flying lap of Q3 now then, as they make their way into the final 2 turns on the racetrack. Wilson down the pit straight, and she's going to start her first flying lap of Q3. All 9 cars are on track, so Wilson is not going to get any traffic at all. Of course, Lopez, for anybody who needs a reminder, not going to take part in this session as a result of crashing out in Q2. And because of the spare car ban, he can't take part for the remainder of the session. Wilson heading down towards the first 3 turns on the racetrack. Through into turn 1, then into turn 2 will go Wilson and the Haas. Turn 2, turn 3, and then the first sector time is just after this bridge here. Up towards the first sector, it's a 21.446 for Wilson in that first sector. 21.544 for Vaderi, so Wilson is actually up on Vaderi in the first sector there. 21.179 for Perinin on that occasion, as Wilson goes around the double right-hander now then, as she will now approach the S's now then. Flicks the car in for the left, although she's getting a little bit of a wiggle through into the first part there, so that's not going to help her lap time whatsoever there. A little bit of an error there for Amelia Wilson in the second sector through into the S's. A 50.173 in the second sector. As a result, a 49.861 for Vaderi, so he was able to find time in that middle sector. Even with that mistake Wilson had, I think he would have still been up without it. Anyway, as Wilson goes around the stadium section now, then a 49.043 for Perinin in the second sector, so a hell of a lot quicker than both Wilson and Vaderi in the middle sector. Wilson through the final turn now, then under Pelotala, making her way onto the pit straight. What is the lap time she's going to set in the Haas? And it is going to be a 1 minute 17.416. Vaderi across the line, and he goes quicker by 0.2 of a second. Perinin now then, he's been looking very quick here in Mexico, does a 1 minute 15.850 to go 1.3 seconds quicker than Vaderi. Roke 1/10 down on Perinin in the second sector, as Roke now then makes his way through the stadium section, through into the left, then through into the right-hander now, then we go, as he now approaches Mansell, which is this right-hander right here, where Lopez crashed in Q2. Now through into the Pelotala now then. The second part, I love the Pelotala, because of course it's been cut in half since that stadium section was brought in. Roke now then, down the pit straight and across the line he will go, slots into second, 0.2 off of Perinin. Chatfield now goes quickest by 0.2 of a second, a 1 minute 15.631 for Chris Chatfield, the man of course who won at South Korea and Malaysia, and currently a man on form, it's fair to say. Garber goes into 4th, 0.5 off of Chatfield. As a result, 1/10 down for Galloway in the second sector compared to his teammate. Can he make it a Ferrari front row lockout? Galloway across the line, and he goes into 3rd, so 1-3 for the 2 Ferraris at the moment. What can Byrne do? He's 0.5 off, I think that said, on Chatfield in the middle sector. Perinin, Patel was actually up in the first sector, but lost time a little bit in the middle sector, but not by a lot. Byrne across the line, goes into 6th. Patel across the line, he goes 2nd, gets onto the front row of the grid. And that's the first run's done with then. So it is Chatfield at the top of the timing sheets ahead of Patel and Perinin. But yeah, some very close lap times at the moment, Franco.
Absolutely. I didn't expect it, to be honest, to see Chatfield this strong. But yeah, we know that Chatfield is a specialist in the qualifying, and especially this season with Ferrari has improved a lot this thing. That last season was probably one of his main weaknesses. And yeah, also Raul once again in the first row. So as said in the Q1 session, him and Jesus as well are aiming for something important here. And yeah, I'd say that Red Bulls needs to improve, but I don't know how much they can improve actually, because their straight line speed is quite slower compared to the other cars. Also Byrne as well need to do a little bit better, but so far it has been quite a surprising result to see Chris on pole.
Yeah, indeed, and whether he can get what I think would be his 3rd or 4th pole of the season, well, let me just quickly double check that. I kind of regret clicking off the statistics list for this season. Just going to quickly double check. I think it might be his 3rd pole if he keeps up. No, it would be his 4th pole, and just give me a moment, Franco.
Yeah, of course, guys. I check now how many poles Chris has done. So he got 1 in Barcelona. Barcelona.
Back, I'll give you a clarification on that. It was Barcelona, It was Belgium and it was Malaysia. So it would be his 4th pole if he can keep
Yes.
this up. But still, we've got an entire run to go, and Perinen is curious, is keen to try and do that because he has been very quick throughout the session so far. Obviously, didn't top Q2, of course, but only missed out by 15 thousandths of a second. Given Lopez is out of the picture, you would expect him to maybe try and challenge for pole because, as mentioned, in both dry and wet conditions, Perinen has looked very, very strong around here at Mexico this week, and he's looking to see if he can continue that here in Q number 3. As Perinen now then is out on track first, not wasting any time whatsoever as he makes his way towards the left-right chicane now then. Through into the right-hander he goes. Of course, it is raining, but we're not expecting it to wetten up, as you saw on the weather forecast just before we got underway with Q number 3. I think it's just going to be a thing that's just in the air, really. But anyway, Perinen through into the S as he goes. Through the left, through the right, and then through into the left-hand. There we go, as he now makes his way through into the right and left-hander. Flicking it in for the right, flicking it in for the left, as he now makes his way down towards where the stadium section is going to be now then. Flicking it in through the right-hander will go Jesus Perinen in the Renault as he now approaches the stadium section. Still 2 cars in the pit lane, which is Patel and Byrne. Perinen hoping he doesn't get held up by even one of them. It'd be even more disastrous if it were his teammate that came out just in front of him, that being Evan Byrne. As Perinen now then comes out of the Pelotala to start his second flying lap, but Byrne has just emerged on track as they now make their way onto the straight. There is Patel. You just saw him in the background there of Perinen, but thankfully Byrne has come out quite far ahead of him there. So luckily Perinen is not going to get held up by his teammate Byrne, because otherwise I think there'll be some stern words over at the Renault camp. As now Perinen now just comes out of turn 3, he'll now approach the end of the first sector. What is it going to look like? Only 8 thousandths down on Chatfield in the first sector, but 52 thousandths down in the first sector. He can still kind of recover it, because we've seen throughout this qualifying session the first sector doesn't really mean anything that much. I know the first 3 corners are a bit of the only technical bit of the track, really, and it can be a bit awkward. But as we've seen, the first sector doesn't really mean too much. It's mainly the sector 2 and sector 3 where you gain most of your time, and that's where we've seen Perinen be quite quick throughout this. But let's see what it's like on this occasion. Up towards the end of sector 2, and he's 1/10 down in the middle sector, so not able to find anything in that middle sector. 3/10 down on Chatfield as a result, as he makes his way through into the stadium section now. They're making his way down towards the hairpin, through into the left, and then through into the right-hander he goes now. And Perinen coming up towards the Mansell corner now, then through in towards the Pelotala. And let's see what Perinen can do. Down the pit straight and across the line will go Jesus Perinen in the Renault. And he does not improve. He stays in 3rd position. Wilson is up on her personal best. Wilson's currently 9th across the line. She goes up to 7th. Gets in front of Byrne. Good effort there from Amelia Wilson, given the car that she's in. Galloway is not up on his personal best in the first sector. But let's see what his middle sector looks like. Anyway, 37 thousandths down in that middle sector. And, well, he's not that far off his personal best. He could still maybe recover it, depending on how he really hooks up this last sector, we will see, but still down on his teammate in the middle sector as he makes his way through into the stadium section now. Then Galloway through into the Mansell corner he goes now. Then into Pelotala he goes. Down the pit straight goes Jake Galloway in the Ferrari, and across the line he will go, and he doesn't improve. He stays in 4th position. Chatfield across the line doesn't improve, says on 1 minute 15.631. Roke up on his personal best, but still 2/10 down as Garber, his teammate, got up into 2nd place. What can Roke do? Across the line he will go, and he lost time in the last sector and doesn't improve. He stays in 6th position. Videri up into 7th, gets back in front of Wilson, and Byrne was up on Chatfield in the first sector, but lost time in the middle sector. He's 1/10 down, so he could get onto the front row, could Evan Byrne. Byrne across the line he will go in the Renault, and he goes only 4th on that occasion, so gets in front just of Perinen there. Patel is not up on his personal best. He's currently in 3rd position. Patel across the line and stays in 3rd as a result. That is those runs done with, and it is still Chatfield at the top, but Garber on the front row. That is quite a good lap there from the championship leader.
And that is crucial also because in a moment where his championship rival, as we know, will start at the very back of the grid, he needs to get the opportunity as much as possible to escape away from him in the standings potentially tomorrow. So that's actually a good effort by him, and sadly he was only P5, so yeah, it seems to be a sort of difficult session, but the gaps are very close between all the drivers. And
Indeed, so.
yeah.
Indeed, as we've still probably got at least one more run left before the session comes to a close. This qualifying's not over there. Chatfield cannot rest up just easily at the moment, as we saw there that Garber was able to improve on that occasion as Galloway gets wheeled back into the garage now then. So we wait to see what the final runs of Q3 are going to look like, as Chatfield looks like it's taken him a bit of a while to get wheeled back into the garage. He seemed like it took a little bit of a detour before getting wheeled back into the garage by his Ferrari mechanics. Videri in 8th position, looking like a pretty close battle between Videri and Wilson in their little battle for 8th place in this qualifying session, as Videri now then gets wheeled back into the Alfa Romeo garage now then, as he'll be preparing to start his final lap very soon, if he can get out in time, that is. As Patel now then makes his way back into pit lane himself. Any movement around him? I'm trying to look on the mini-map to see if there's any movement going on. It doesn't seem like it at the moment, as we wait to see who's going to go out for final flying lap, and that would be Amelia Wilson in the Haas, so the garage that's next door to Lamborghini. So Wilson getting out there on track, and looking to see if she can get back ahead of Videri and see if she can qualify in 8th position in this session now then, as Wilson makes her way down towards the first few turns on the racetrack now then, through the right, through into the left, and then through into the right-hander she will go. Perinen has come back out onto the track as well, looking to see if he can find any time to try and see if he can take pole position for the Mexican Grand Prix. Wilson through into the left and right-hander she will go now then, as she'll be preparing to start her final flying lap very soon. Through into the double right she goes before she makes her way down towards the S's now then, as she will flick the car in for the left and then through into the right. She will go left, right and left again, and there used to be a lot more S's back in the 90s during the old layout of Mexico, but they obviously reduced it to just a few when they came back here in 2015 in real life, and for the OC of course it was the first ever time they'd come to Mexico. But anyway, Wilson preparing for her final flying lap. Still a few cars in pit lane. They need to get out before the 1 minute 15 threshold, otherwise that's their chance to improve gone down the toilet, as there's still 3 cars in the pit lane, that being Patel, Roque and Videri, as now Wilson makes her way out of the final turn and onto the pit straight she will now go, and Wilson starting her final flying lap now then. Just keep an eye on the right hand side to see if there's any traffic. There might be in the form of that Lamborghini that's just come out. That be Patel, as Wilson, can she get by Patel before the first corner? She's going to have a go on the inside, and she gets moved on. Were there dots on the track I just saw on the right-hand side there? She was overtaking Patel. Let's have a look from Perinen's point of view. Just keep an eye on the right-hand side, unless it was just shadows from the trees. I'm not sure. I couldn't really tell on that occasion. But anyway, Wilson... It wasn't dots. It was clearly shadows. My mistake. I do apologise. But anyway, Wilson down on her personal best in the first sector. Maybe that hold up from Patel did cost her a little bit, as she had to awkwardly get around the first few turns as a result. So I don't think Wilson is going to improve as a result. And I would not be surprised if Patel's lap gets compromised as a result, because he's still right behind Wilson, as Wilson gets it all out of shape through into the S's there. This time a little bit further onto the S's, getting it all crossed up. And if her lap wasn't already in the bin already, it definitely is now with that mistake, as Patel tries to find a way through into the stadium section. And I think Patel's probably going to get held up on his final lap as a result. But anyway, Wilson into the left-hander she goes now then. I couldn't quite see if that was she's making another mistake there. Very, very scruffy lap for Amelia Wilson. Luckily keeping it out of the wall, unlike what Lopez did earlier on. But yeah, very, very scruffy lap for Amelia Wilson on this. And she's probably going to be kicking herself with this lap. And as a result, she stays in 9th position. Patel starting his lap. It looks like Perinen may be making a similar mistake through to the final corner, as he was actually down on his personal best in the middle sector. Perinen across the line doesn't improve and stays where he is, as Roque is about to start his lap. Garber up on his personal best, and he's up on Chatfield in the first sector. But let's not forget, the first sector doesn't really mean too much. It's what's going on in these last 2 sectors. And let's see now then, as Garber through into the S as he goes. Can he keep it purple in the middle sector compared to Chatfield? Let's see, he can. 1/10 off in the middle sector, and Garber could be looking at pole position here, especially with his rival car all the way down in 20th. This is the best chance for him to really gain massive points on car and pull away from him even more in the championship, as he now makes his way through into the hairpin Through into the stadium section he goes, through the right and then into Mansell corner. Can Garber keep this up now then and snatch pole off of Chris Chatfield? Garber around the final turn at the Pelotala. He makes his way, blasts down onto the pit straight. Is Garber going to snatch pole? Across the line goes the championship leader. Can he do it? Yes, he can by time. Garber goes to the top of the timing sheet with a 1 minute 15.452. Byrne doesn't improve. Chatfield's not improving. Doesn't look like he's going to snatch it back. No, he's not. He stays in second place. Galloway not on an improvement either. He makes his way onto the pit straight. Galloway across the line. No improvement. Stays where he is. Wilson coming back in. Patel, of course, getting held up by Wilson, and I'm not expecting him to improve. As a result, Vaderi's on lap. He's up on his personal best, but only by 11 thousandths of a second. I don't know if Roke is also not up on his personal best either in that middle sector. Through into the stadium section goes Vaderi now then. I think he's going to stay in 8th, but let's see what sort of improvement he can make, providing he gets up in that last sector, because he was only 11 thousandths up in that middle sector. Can easily lose it in this sector he's currently in now then. Vaderi onto the pit straight now, then he goes in the Alfa Romeo, cross the line. He will go, and he does improve but stays in 8th position. Roke behind doesn't improve and he stays down in 7th position, and that is qualifying done. And right on the last lap, it is Franco Gamba who takes pole position for tomorrow's Mexican Grand Prix. So I'm going to stay silent and allow you to see how Franco Gamba got that pole position.
Great lap. Only sector you're not fastest in at the moment is the last sector by a couple of hundredths. We can't afford to slow down too much.
That is how Franco Gamba took pole position for tomorrow's Mexican Grand Prix. A very good lap indeed, a very good final lap for him, and especially given that his rival, Amar Kar, starting down in 20th position. He's got a lot of work to do for tomorrow, but Franco's got a very good chance to pull away even more in the championship and maybe giving himself a slim chance of trying to wrap it up in Bahrain. But anyway, here is your grid then for, well, the top 10 for tomorrow's race. Franco Gamba on pole position with Chris Chatfield on the front row in second. Rahul Patel is in third. Evan Byrne in fourth. Jesus Perinen not able to replicate the pace that we saw in the first two qualifying sessions and in practice. He's in fifth with Jake Galloway in sixth. George Roke down in seventh. Andre Vaderi in eighth. Amelia Wilson, good effort. She'll start in ninth position. And due to crashing out in Q2, Franco Lopez will start in 10th position. But what did you make of that session overall, Franco?
Quite a huge surprise compared to what I expected. I mean, great effort by Gamba. He pulled a very great last lap that actually provided him a very good position to escaping away from his championship rival. And anyway, qualifying has been quite close between each other, even if the gaps are big. But in general, I do feel that everyone gave his best and good session overall. And it's going to be an exciting race tomorrow. I can assure you guys that it will be better than the real life one. So be sure to don't miss it.
Can only hope on that one. Well, there you have it then. That has been it for the qualifying session here at Mexico. I hope you have enjoyed it. A very enjoyable session, and hopefully we get an enjoyable race out of it tomorrow, of course. There's no F2 this week, by the way, for anybody who is curious. F2 will return next week at Indianapolis. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. So thank you all for watching. I'm in JW97. He's been Frank Ugamba, and we will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. GMT, not BST, because, of course, the clocks went back on Sunday. We're now in Greenwich Meridian time at 5 p.m. GMT for the 71-lap Mexican Grand Prix. Till then, take care.